The first signal drifted through the void like a lone ember carried on a cosmic wind, faint enough to be dismissed as static yet deliberate enough to awaken every listening post along the outer spine. For centuries, the coalition of alien powers believed they understood the layout of the galaxy, its threats, its boundaries, its predictable cycles of conflict. But the signal was none of those. It was a hum, a pulse, a distortion that rippled through subspace in a rhythm no species recognized. A message, encoded in a language not meant for translation. A warning, or a declaration. Across distant star clusters, admirals and warlords gathered in elevated chambers carved from obsidian and bioluminescent crystal. They leaned in, antennae twitching, pupils narrowing, mandibles clenching as the strange frequency played over their calm arrays. It was not loud. It did not threaten. Yet it carried the unsettling sensation of something massive moving in the dark, something that knew exactly where they were. They pulled data from every archive, scanned every known empire's war frequencies, dissected every spectrum of the transmission. Nothing matched. Some believed it was an unknown species announcing their arrival. Others suspected an ancient machine intelligence waking from slumber. A few argued it was merely cosmic interference. But all of them felt the same cold pressure beneath their ribs, the primal instinct that something was coming. The signal came again, this time closer. It glided past patrol frigates like a ghost current, sweeping across hulls, vibrating through armor plating, overriding scanners. Crews stared at their screens as readings spiked into impossible ranges. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a scan. It was recognition. As if something enormous beyond the reach of their sensors had turned a metaphorical head in their direction and whispered across the abyss, a message finally decoded, 3 words long, "We see you." Panic erupted through the coalition's command networks. Fleets repositioned. Long-range artillery arrays powered up. Envoys were dispatched to every neighboring empire. The threat was imminent. Unknown, and approaching fast. And for the first time in centuries, species that once battled over nebulae and mineral-rich moons sat in the same chamber, bound not by diplomacy but fear. They launched reconnaissance swarms, tens of thousands of drones slipping into the dark between stars. Hours passed. Then days. Most drones vanished without transmission, as though swallowed by a void predator. Those that returned sent images corrupted by static and bending light, as if reality itself twisted around whatever they had glimpsed. A shadow behind the distortion. A silhouette with impossible geometry and a presence too large to be measured. Some calculated its mass. Others laughed bitterly at the numbers. They couldn't be real. Nothing that size should be able to move that fast. Then the last surviving drone captured a final frame before disintegrating. A ship, alone, silent, drifting toward their borders like an unspoken challenge, a warship built by hands no alien had ever seen. Steel forged in a world they had dismissed as primitive. Engines humming with a signature unlike any in the galactic registry. Hull markings that were simple, stark, and unmistakable, white lettering painted with defiant clarity. Humanity had arrived, and in that moment, as the frame flickered across every command screen in every coalition war room, a silence deeper than the void fell over them. Not awe. Not wonder, terror. The galaxy had taken its first look at a human warship, and the fleets froze. The warship did not slow as it approached the first defensive perimeter. It drifted with the calm inevitability of a falling star, its engines whispering in low-frequency pulses that resonated through the hulls of every vessel stationed along the border. Captains barked orders. Shields rose. Artillery pods unfolded like metallic petals preparing to blossom into fire. But the human ship neither answered nor deviated from its course. It simply continued forward, an unstoppable shape cutting through the cosmic dusk. Coalition tacticians studied its silhouette with tightening throats. It wasn't elegant like their crystalline cruisers or organic dreadforms. It was sharp, angular, forged for war without the pretense of aesthetics. A vessel built by a species that viewed beauty not in curves or ornamentation, but in endurance, precision, and raw will. The hull bore scars, ancient burns, impact fractures, carbon scoring from battles never recorded in galactic history. This was not a new ship. This was a survivor. Every automated system scanned it. Every frequency probed it. Every weapon locked onto it. Yet the readings remained impossible to interpret. The vessel seemed to exist a fraction of a second ahead of real time, slipping between measurable states. Its shields crackled with layered distortions that none of their scientists could identify. Energy matrices rose and fell like breathing. Something inside that ship watched the coalition just as calmly as it had watched the void. The first admiral to speak ordered a warning shot. A single lance of plasma erupted from the forward tower of the nearest cruiser, tearing through the dark and striking the intruder squarely across its midsection. The plasma dissipated like rain hitting iron. No scorch. No ripple. No reaction. A second shot. Stronger. Faster. Nothing. Fear turned to desperation. The entire perimeter opened fire, the darkness erupting into a riot of light, ion cannons, particle beams, kinetic rails, gravitonic rippers. The space around the human ship boiled with fury. A miniature supernova born from terror and instinct. And when the glare faded, the ship continued forward, unchanged. A whisper traveled through the fleets. Not a word, not a frequency. A sensation. A pressure that felt like a gaze settling over them, quiet and unamused. The human vessel finally reacted, not with weapons, but with a simple pulse of blue-white light that expanded outward like a soft breath. Every enemy weapon powered down, every targeting system froze, every engine stalled. Coalition captains stared in disbelief as error codes cascaded across their screens. Their fleets, 100 strong, sat powerless before a single warship that had not fired a shot. Then a voice came through every channel at once. Calm. Steady. Human, to all vessels in range. Stand down. You are in violation of protected space. Admirals leaned forward, stunned. The Terran Union does not seek conflict. But we do not tolerate aggression. Lower your weapons, withdraw from the border, and no further action will be taken. The coalition had expected many things, demands, threats, warnings wrapped in arrogance, but they had not expected restraint. The voice carried no boast. No fury. Only the clarity of a people who had learned the cost of war the hard way, and refused to repeat ancient mistakes unless forced. The fleets hesitated, caught between pride and the cold arithmetic of survival. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then the human ship spoke again, softer this time, as if addressing not soldiers, but frightened children. We see your fear. We understand why. But you do not understand us, not yet. The engines of the warship brightened, casting long shadows across the immobilized coalition armada. Do not make us teach that lesson by force. In that moment, the coalition realized something horrifying. This lone warship was not an invasion, it was a message. Silence clung to the coalition fleets as they drifted helplessly around the human warship. Systems flickered, slowly rebooting, but none dared lock weapons again. The vessel moved between them like a predator walking calmly through a pack of trembling animals. Its hull reflecting the faint light of disabled cruisers. No hostility. No hurry. Only purpose. Fragments of data finally stabilized on admiral screens. Mass estimates, engine signatures, strange gravitational fluctuations. None of it made sense. The ship was heavier than a dreadnought yet moved like a frigate. Its power core registered at levels thought physically impossible for a vessel that size. No recorded species had ever engineered anything close. It was like staring at a relic from a civilization that had mastered physics centuries before the coalition had learned to split atoms. The admirals exchanged shaken glances. If this was a single Terran ship, what did an entire fleet look like? A low tremor rippled through space as the warship's wings unfolded slightly, an intentional display, controlled, measured. Not a threat. A reminder. And then, almost gently, the vessel pivoted toward the coalition capital ring positioned far behind the front line. That movement alone sent panic through every command deck. If it reached the capital, the war was already lost. Coalition officers scrambled to respond, but before they could, the human voice returned, quiet, almost sympathetic. Do not fear. We move only to clear the border of conflict. The ship accelerated. No flash. No roar. Space simply parted for it, bending around its trajectory in a shimmering distortion. Coalition sensors screamed. Unable to track or predict its path as it slipped between patrols with ghost-like precision, every fleet it passed recoiled instinctively. None engaged. None even tried. They weren't looking at a warship anymore, they were looking at a verdict. The warship moved like a ghost through the coalition perimeter, its engines glowing softly against the dark backdrop of the nebula-strewn border. Each vessel it passed fell silent, systems glitching as if space itself obeyed its presence. The human ship did not fire. It did not scream. It simply existed, a perfect balance of power and control, its very shape radiating confidence that no technology could challenge. Recon drones attempted to shadow it, weaving between frigates and cruisers, but they vanished in seconds. Signals were scrambled, sensors overloaded, data corrupted. Even the coalition's most advanced AI interpreters failed to reconstruct its form fully, leaving only jagged fragments of impossible geometry on every display. A single cruiser attempted a test shot, a concentrated pulse aimed at its flank. The energy dissipated harmlessly, warped and redirected, leaving the hull unscathed. The human vessel tilted slightly, a motion so minimal it seemed almost casual, and the pulse fragmented into sparks that rained harmlessly across the void. Admirals began to understand, this was no ordinary ship. This was a lesson. A demonstration of what humanity had once been capable of, what humanity still was. Every sensor reading, every technical anomaly, every slight impossibility hinted at centuries of forgotten knowledge, of battles fought and survived against threats the coalition could only imagine. The ship approached the capital ring, moving with deliberate purpose. Even from a distance, the scale was breathtaking. It was not just a warship. It was an icon of human defiance. A living symbol that the species they had long dismissed as primitive had evolved beyond their calculations, beyond their understanding, beyond fear itself. The human voice returned over every open channel, calm and resonant. We are here. Not to destroy. Not to conquer. To remind you, there is a force in this galaxy you do not comprehend. Respect it, or learn it too late. The coalition fleets froze, no weapons raised, no orders given. The warship passed, precise and unyielding, leaving a trail of awe and terror in its wake. For the first time, the alien empires realized the truth: humanity was no longer just a story. It was a reckoning, and the galaxy would never forget this first look. The human warship paused beyond the capital ring, engines humming with quiet authority, casting a pale blue glow across the fleets that had once thought themselves untouchable. Sensors tried to calculate its mass, its power output, its speed, calculations that failed at every attempt. Every system aboard the coalition ship seemed to hesitate, as if acknowledging an intelligence far beyond their own. The triumvirate's captain, observing from a distant command station, could barely believe the readings. One vessel alone had shifted the balance of power in an entire sector, not with weapons, but with presence. It was a statement in motion, a truth laid bare across the void. Humanity's mastery of war, science, and strategy was not to be underestimated. Drones ventured forward, attempting to probe, to gather even a fragment of understanding. One by one, they faltered, twisted by energy fluctuations that defied the known laws of physics, disappearing into distortions that seemed alive. Each vanishing made the fleets shrink back, instinctively ceding space to the human ship. Then the ship's engines pulsed in a controlled crescendo. Light stretched into lines, bending space slightly, warping perception as it moved forward, a single predator threading through a sea of lesser hunters. Coalition admirals watched their plans crumble in real time. Every fleet maneuver, Every calculated strike, every attempted blockade failed before it even began, and then the human voice returned, steady, unwavering, carried through subspace and calm channels alike. You have measured us. You have calculated us. Yet still you hesitate. We do not seek annihilation. We seek respect. Stand down, or learn the cost of underestimating a species that refuses to be tamed. For the first time, alien crews felt it, not fear, not awe, but the undeniable weight of moral authority. Humanity's defiance was not reckless. It was intentional, disciplined, and absolute. The fleets froze entirely, their engines silent, their weapons dormant, their pride confronted by something far larger than steel or firepower. The warship moved onward, leaving every coalition ship behind in stunned obedience. Every moment it passed was a lesson etched into the very memory of their fleets. Humanity's strength was not in numbers, nor in technology alone, but in purpose, resilience, and unshakable will. The first encounter ended not with destruction, but with a statement that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived. And the universe had learned, at last, to notice. The human warship drifted beyond the coalition fleets, its hull gleaming like a shard of light in the void, engines humming softly as if mocking the fear it left behind. The alien admirals watched, frozen, their systems slowly rebooting, but their pride remained shattered. No weapon had fired, no shield had been breached, yet the message was unmistakable. Humanity commanded the field without a single act of aggression. Behind the vessel, distant patrols whispered alarms, attempting to regroup, to reassert control. Yet the warship moved with impossible precision, threading between cruisers and carriers as though they were immaterial. Every movement was calculated, elegant, deliberate, and terrifying in its simplicity. It was not a ship, it was a warning written in steel and light. The human voice spoke one final time, calm and unwavering, echoing through every channel, every sensor array, every listening post. This is not conquest. This is understanding. You have seen our reach. You have felt our presence. Do not mistake restraint for weakness. Humanity remembers. Humanity endures. Humanity will respond when tested. For moments that stretched like centuries, the fleets remained immobile, suspended in awe and disbelief. Every calculation, every strategy, every doctrine they had depended on crumbled in the presence of a single human warship. The galaxy had glimpsed something it had long underestimated, an intelligence unbound by fear, a will unbroken by history, a defiance that could not be measured. Then, without fanfare, the vessel vanished into the black between stars, leaving the coalition fleet staring into empty space, their systems buzzing with the afterimage of power and discipline they could scarcely comprehend. The nebulae shimmered softly in the distance, silent witnesses to the proof of human ingenuity and resolve. The fleets would rebuild, reassess, and report. Yet the memory of what they had seen, the quiet, unstoppable force of a single human warship, would haunt them forever. They had been judged, and they had survived the encounter only because the humans had chosen to leave them alive. And somewhere across the stars, humanity sailed onward, silent, steadfast, and eternal, ready for any call, any challenge, any darkness that dared to rise.